It was brought to my attention earlier today by a new viewer that some of the content here on CloverTac is actually a little bit too advanced for some of those new shooters and for some of those people that are just now coming into the firearm community. So what we're going to do starting today is a new series called CloverTac Basics. And what we're going to do is we're going to strip down and go over some very basic, and for the seasoned gun enthusiast out there, probably boring topics. However, for the new gun enthusiast out there, these hopefully will be quite informative to those guys. Now, if you are a seasoned veteran of the firearms community, don't worry, you'll be able to tell in the video title that it is a CloverTac's basic video. That way you can avoid it if you want to. And even in the thumbnail, we will have a little identifier there for you to let you know that this is a basic video. That way you can choose whether or not you want to take the time to watch that or not. So with that said, let's get started with the first episode of CloverTac Basics. Welcome back, my friends, to the CloverTac channel. And today we're going to start the first episode of what hopefully will be a fairly long-running series called CloverTac Basics. And what we're going to discuss for our very first episode of CloverTac Basics is revolvers. Now basically, you have three different types of revolvers. You have a single action only revolver, you have a double action single action revolver, and then you have a double action only revolver. Now a single action revolver is also sometimes referred to as a single action army, which is actually Colt's version of the single action revolver, or possibly even a cowboy action revolver. And a good example of a single action revolver would be this Ruger Vaquero. And with a single action revolver, the identifying characteristic is the hammer has to be pulled back in order for the revolver to fire. So just pulling the trigger will not do it. You have to actually pull the hammer back and fire each and every time. And if you'll notice, as you pull the hammer back, that cylinder indexes to the next round. Another characteristic typically with a single action revolver is the way that it loads. Usually you have a loading gate that you have to flip down, and then you load your cartridges in like so. And then to eject, you have an ejection rod that pushes up through the cylinder and then pushes the empty cases back. With a double action only revolver, most of those models don't have a hammer. They're similar to this little piece of junk RG revolver. The reason I'm showing you this is just a little knock around, throw around pistol that I've got. I don't actually own a hammerless revolver, and I don't care for a hammerless revolver, to be quite honest with you. What this was is the hammer actually broke, and it's called bobbing when you finish grinding and take the hammer down. So what happened was the hammer broke. It actually broke when this was given to me, and I just went ahead and bobbed it there where it was broke. So you really can't pull the hammer back. All you can do is pull the trigger. As you pull the trigger, the hammer will come back and it will fire. Notice the cylinder also indexes when you do this. Now, the reason this is called a double action is because when you pull the trigger, that hammer is coming back. So there's two actions taking place. The trigger pull and the hammer coming back. That's why that would be called a double action as opposed to a single action. And last we get to the double action, single action revolvers. And this is your most common revolver and your most modern revolver. And a good example would be this Smith & Wesson Model 65. Notice it is double action in that we can pull the trigger, the hammer comes back, the cylinder indexes, and it fires. However, you can also fire it single action, like so. So if you was out, you was target shooting or something like that, and you wanted a lot lighter trigger pull, notice when we pull this hammer back, on a double action, single action. See how the trigger pulls back? Well, that creates a lot lighter trigger to pull than just having to pull it from this position. Because when you're pulling from the double action position, you're actually having to rotate the cylinder and everything in the process. Where if you pull the hammer back, it indexes the cylinder, and all you've got to do is pull the trigger and drop the hammer. So it's the best of both worlds with a double action, single action, and that's why that's employed in most of your modern revolvers today. Now, as far as loading on a double action only or a double action, single action revolver, most of those you're going to load and unload by swinging out the cylinder like so, and then this is your ejection rod. Well, that's it for the first installment of CloverTac Basics. I hope that all the new guys out there learned a little bit today, and if you did, don't forget to chain fire freedom. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to check out some of our other videos. If you enjoy the channel, why not subscribe? If you want to passively support CloverTac, you can do so by going to clovertac.com and shopping with one of our wonderful affiliate sponsors.